This week on MacGyver the Lizard.
The first question everybody wants to know is, when should I start to handle my baby tegu? And conventional wisdom will tell you that you should put them in their new enclosure and let them adjust for a couple weeks before you start trying to handle them, but I've found that to be completely unnecessary. I've had 3 tegus before, and all 3 of them were crawling up onto my hands after just a couple days. Now, one thing you need to remember is that tegus don't like sitting still in your hands. So don't try to pick up your tegu and hold it still in order to tame it. That's going to fail. You're not going to help build trust at all. What you really want to do is you want to let them crawl around on you, and you want to let them know that you're something that they can use to do something they want to do. So a good example is letting them crawl in your hand to get out of their enclosure, and then immediately setting them down on the ground to let them explore and go do their own thing. Now, they love exploring. They're very curious little animals, and they learn very quickly. So as soon as they learn that your hand is a free ticket to get out and go do their own thing, they're going to try to climb up on you every instance they get. When you walk in the room, they're going to run over to the side of the cage, and they're going to be like, "Hey dude, stick your hand in here, pick me up, I want to walk around." How do you build trust with your new tegu? Well, the simple answer is that you want to let them come to you as much as possible and not overwhelm them. So you want to pick them up slowly, and then you want to put them somewhere where they can crawl around and get used to you. Some people will sit in the bathtub with their tegu with no water, just to have a small enclosed space so the tegu is forced to walk around on your legs and get used to you. I just use the living room, so I pick them up slowly, go sit in the middle of the living room, set them on the ground, and let them walk around and get used to me. Now, in the event that your tegu won't let you pick them up in order to do this, what you want to do is spend a little bit of time just hanging out near them, let them get used to you being close to them, then put your hand a little bit closer. Just keep getting closer to him without freaking him out. If he starts to freak out, then you want to back up a little bit and give him more space. But just get him used to you being around to the point where you can touch him on the head, pet him a little bit, and then eventually slowly slide your hand under him and pick him up. And then once you get to that point, it's pretty easy. You just basically want to let him walk around you and get used to you. Now, it's important to tegu-proof your house as much as possible. We just moved in here, and Mac's full grown now, so I didn't block off all of these cracks that I would if he was a baby. But all these places, like under and between appliances, don't underestimate how small a crack these guys can fit in. So especially kitchens and bathrooms, like all these cracks between appliances, duct tape is going to be your best friend here. Also in cabinets, like a lot of the times when they build houses, they leave big holes in the wall where they put pipes through. So you should really duct tape around all those holes where pipes go in and out, because there's usually enough room in there that if your tegu gets into a cabinet, he can crawl into one of those holes and get lost in the wall. You also want to make sure to plug unused electrical outlets with these little cap thingies so that they don't stick their tongue in there and get electrocuted. So there's 2 main reasons you want to tegu-proof your house as much as possible. The first one's pretty obvious. You don't want your guy to get hurt or to get stuck in any walls or anything and lose him. But also, you don't want to be in a position where you have to chase him down in order to protect him from something, because then he's going to associate you with chasing, and it's going to hurt the trust building process because he's going to think about running away every time he sees you. The question of hand feeding is one of the most controversial out there, and most people will say that trying to hand feed a large lizard like a tegu is a recipe for disaster. But if you look closely, the people with the best relationships with their lizards are very often the ones that are hardcore advocates of hand feeding. Now, MacGyver's been hand fed pretty much every meal since he was a little baby, and he's turned out to be a complete puppy dog. Now, the reason most people will say that you shouldn't hand feed a large lizard like a tegu is because they'll associate your hand with food. And if the only thing that you're doing is feeding your tegu once a week, and that's the only time it ever sees you, then yeah, that's going to be a problem. But if you're spending a lot of time with your tegu and you're trying to build a really good relationship, then hand feeding is a great way to take that relationship to the next level. Now, if you are going to hand feed your tegu, it's a good idea to train them to not lunge at food. So what you want to do is you want to let them smell you and you want to pet them before you feed them, so they don't get in the habit of running over immediately and trying to bite down on something, because that could cause you problems. Another important thing is you never want to feed your animal live food, especially rodents, because then they get in the habit of latching on to something and trying to kill it because they have to. And if they see your hand moving quickly and they think it's a mouse, then you're going to be in trouble. Now, I highly recommend that you train your tegu to eat from hand when he's young, because a bite from a baby tegu is not going to hurt at all. It's not even going to break your skin. But as an adult, they've got very powerful bites which will destroy your hand. Now, tegus love food, so it's pretty easy to train them to eat from your hand. You can pretty much just offer it to them and they'll eat it. In the event that they don't quite trust you enough to do that, you can try tossing it a couple inches to them so that they realize it's food and they'll eat it. And then you toss them a little bit more, and eventually they'll realize what's going on pretty quickly, and then they'll come over and start eating it right out of your hand. Is it okay to wake up your tegu when he's buried in his substrate sleeping? Here's MacGyver. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning. He's sleeping under his blankets, but he has no problem with me petting him and touching him. Now, if you ask this question on online tegu forums, you're almost certainly going to get the same answer every time, which is you should never unbury your tegu, you should never wake up your tegu. That is a horrible answer. A much better answer is yes, you can wake up your tegu, yes, you can unbury your tegu when he's buried, but there is a time for it, and it really depends on where you are in the trust building process with your tegu. Now, I think there are 3 main phases of the trust building process. The first one is your tegu trusts you when he's awake. The next one is he trusts you enough to fall asleep on you. And then finally, he trusts you enough to wake him up. If you're not at phase 2 and your tegu doesn't trust you enough to fall asleep on you, then you don't want to try waking him up yet. But if you are at phase 2, then you can start waking him up, and this is what you want to do. You don't want to go in and completely unbury him and try picking him up immediately, because that's going to freak him out. So what you want to do is you want to dig around in the substrate a little bit until you touch him, and then he's going to wake up by himself. And the first few times what he's going to do is he's probably going to wake up really quickly, jump out of his substrate like a bat out of hell, and he might even try to huff and puff and whip you with his tail or something. That's to be expected the first few times. It's the first time anything's ever woken them up and they're expecting to be eaten, so it's normal. Don't worry about it. But that's not going to last long. They're going to learn pretty quickly that you're not trying to eat them. They're going to realize that it's you, and then they won't freak out so much. Now, after a couple times, what they're probably going to do then is they'll get to the point where when you touch them, they just huff and puff a little bit and maybe stick their head out of the substrate. That's good progress. We're not quite there yet, but after a few more times, what's eventually going to happen is they're going to get to the point where they start ignoring you because they know that you're not trying to eat them. And then it's when you get to this point that you can unbury them and pick them up. But if they're waking up by themselves still, then you don't want to try picking them up yet. You just want to let them wake up by themselves, realize you're not trying to eat them, and then go from there. So what's the deal with free roaming? As some of you may know, Mac has lived an entirely free-roaming life without a cage since he was about 2 months old. This is the little area that we have set up for him. If you're curious as to how I made this and what's going on, you can check out the video in this link right here. Now, I can't recommend this to everyone because it's very difficult to do, especially depending on where you're living, because it's hard to keep up the humidity and such. So I can't in good conscience recommend this to everybody, but they are definitely happier the more time they have out free roaming. So you do need to make sure that you have an allowance of a couple hours a day at least that you can let your tegu out of the cage to roam around. We have 2 humidifiers set up in the kitchen for him to keep the humidity up, and use this spray bottle in here to keep this towel that he's on nice and moist for extra humidity in here. We also let him go outside during the day because the weather's always nice here. So he's got his own little pet door in the back so he can come in and go out.